I wanted to start off on one aspect of the announcement as it relates to one of the industries you oversee as Minister of Industry, the auto sector. On June 17th, your cabinet colleague, the Minister of Environment, said the following about your government's EV mandate. Quote, "It's been in place since 2023. I don't see why the Conservatives believe we need to change it in the face of what we're facing with the U.S. tariffs on the auto sector, or on the auto industry, pardon me. Now, Trump's tariffs on the auto sector, the same ones that are in place today, were in place then. What changed and why did it take your government so long?"
So we've been working as a team over the summer to make sure that we are able to be there for auto industry. Clearly, what is going on in the auto industry is that obviously the 25% tariffs against from the U.S. coming against the auto sector is really difficult to bear, difficult to deal with. And so we needed to be pragmatic. We need to make sure that we are there for our auto sector while continuing to have very ambitious climate change goals. So making sure that we reduce emission. And that's why we're launching a 60-day period consultation. That's a very short period of consultation because we want to be able also to either do more EVs in Canada or also bring more affordable EVs from different countries, including Europe, South Korea, and Japan.
Why, though, with respect, did it take all this time for your government to embody that level of pragmatism? Those tariffs came into effect back in April. At the end of May, May 26th, I believe, 5 of the biggest automakers in Canada urged the Prime Minister to scrap the mandate because at that very moment they conveyed to him it was, quote, inflicting serious damage across the country. Did you just not want to give the Conservatives a win to the disadvantage of the auto sector you oversee?
Oh, I think you're overthinking it, Vashi, because when you look at it, at the end of Q4 of last year, 19% of new cars being sold in Canada were EVs, and then eventually it dropped to 8%, including because Canada decided to let go its subsidies, and now we're looking at bringing them back. So based on that, we just needed to act, and the budget is coming, and we'll be able to make decisions in the context of the budget, and that's up to the Minister of Finance to take his decisions. But meanwhile, the sector is really affected. And forget the Conservative rhetoric that it's all about EVs. No, it's about tariffs. It's about the fact that the U.S. is putting tariffs on our auto sector, and that's affecting jobs in Cambridge, in Alliston, in Brampton, in Windsor. And so we're not dealing with ideology, we're dealing with a real reality, and we're acting now.
Yeah, with respect, I would push back on the idea that I'm overthinking it. I'm presenting what the Conservatives have been saying for a long time, and you responded. But it's what I said to you initially was what the auto sector had conveyed at the end of May, which is that they were in a crisis at this moment, that the mandate that you had in place was inflicting serious damage. Like, that's a direct quote from a letter that they sent and that they conveyed to the Prime Minister. Why do you need another 60 days to decide whether to get rid of this thing when you know how it's impacting the sector?
Well, first, we paused the EV mandates for the summer, for this year, for 2026. And also, Quebec and BC have done so as well. And so we want to work with them. We want to harmonize also our approach. And the Minister of the Environment is working on this. Meanwhile, I'm here to talk to you about also what we're doing for the sectors that are much more affected in light of the fact that the trade disruptions will continue. The U.S. has decided that tariffs would be there in the long run. They've imposed the highest tariffs since the Great Depression. And so there's not only disruptions on the trade front, but I must say there's a real rupture with the free trade world that we were living in until recently. And so we're acting now, yes, on the auto sector, and you're talking to me about EVs, which is really important, but we're looking at a vast sector of the economy, auto, but also we're looking at other sectors, including lumber, steel, aluminum, and other sectors that could be facing threats from the American government. And so that's why we're acting.
And certainly I have questions about your proposed help for those sectors, as well as in particular the Buy Canada policy, because I think you'll have a big hand in that. I do just want to make sure that I understand on behalf of Canadians, though, when you talk about how those mandates are part of a climate plan. The Prime Minister left open the door today outside of the industrial carbon price to it sounded to me that was the only thing he was unequivocal about, would stick around as part of the climate policy. He opened the door to other changes to climate policy. Can you be unequivocal with Canadians watching right now? Will you maintain the targets that the previous Trudeau government had, the emissions reductions targets that are in place?
Well, the emission reduction tariffs for 2050 of being net zero by 2050, clearly.
But there are ones for 2030, 2035 as well. Will those also?
And I'm convinced the Minister of the Environment, which I'm convinced will make her available to answer your question, could be there to go much more into the specific details. What I can tell you, though, is that you've seen the jobs numbers this morning. This is the reality in which Canadians watching us right now are living in. There is unpredictability, which drives a lot of pause by industry leaders, by business owners to make investments in their own companies, to hire people, to develop new products. And so while all this is happening, we have to use the government's role is to make sure that we indeed buy more Canadian, that we indeed have a defense industrial strategy, that we use the strength of procurement to really offer contracts rather than subsidies to companies in order for them to be able to predict what they can do within their own business for the next 3 to 5 years, sometimes 10 years. And then they can invest, they can hire, they can grow their footprint, and then they can have more suppliers, and their suppliers, other small and medium-sized companies, can then do the same thing. And that's how we'll create growth. Because at the end of the day, there are things we can't control. We can't control geopolitics, Vashi. Nobody will think that the government can do that. But what we can control is to build a stronger domestic market, is to use the power of buying Canadian, is to make sure that also we're investing in major national projects, and we'll be coming up with a list across the country very soon, and that also we're building our armed forces using the great industries we have in the country.
And I understand the significance of all of that, but will it be done at the expense of a climate policy? There are a lot of people who voted for your party thinking that it would remain stringent on reducing emissions. I know that you're not the Minister of Environment, but you spent 10 years, essentially around a cabinet table telling Canadians that the environment and the economy go hand in hand, and now you're telling them something very different. Will your government maintain targets outside of 2050?
I'm saying that the same thing because I really think that the environment and the economy go hand in hand. Why? Because I think that what we've done in the past to really invest more in our clean tech is giving us a competitive advantage in the world. When you look at the most important clean tech companies in the world, many of them are Canadian. Actually, we're in the top 10, and we need to keep that advantage. So we won't let go our climate goals, and we will continue to entice companies to develop clean tech solutions and clean energy solutions. And that's why also in the major projects that you will see, there's a lot of emphasis on building the right infrastructure across the country.
So we'll maintain those targets.
We need to increase our grid. We need to make sure also that there's better climate resilience across the country. But my job in the government is really working on supporting jobs, helping the companies to be able to take risks again, build back the defense industrial backbone of our country, the steel workers, the auto workers, the people in the sector of the aluminum sector, the lumber, the people working in the lumber sectors that are watching us right now are anxious, and their livelihoods are at stake. And we need to act. We can't take that for granted. And we can't just fall into ideology right now. We need to be able to be pragmatic, and we can do both. And that's the job of the government, so we're doing that job.
And I do understand that. I'm just going to note, I don't have a clear answer on whether or not outside of 2050 you'll maintain the targets. I will ask the question of the Environment Minister moving forward. Minister, I'll leave it on that note. Appreciate your time very much today. Thank you.
Pleasure.